So today we're looking at photos from the Louisiana Purchase Exposition. It was in 1904 St. Louis World's Fair. And most of the World's Fair videos talk about the buildings. But today we're going to feature the people and specifically the officials, people who were part of organizing or financing, and just interesting characters that show up in the photographic records of this time. So in this photo, I was actually quite surprised because I'm looking at the people above, and here you've got a man from the Philippines. I almost did not see this guy standing here. The picture says that he was a dwarf from the Philippines, and he was part of the Philippine exhibit. He was 29 years old. His name was Juan de la Cruz. This one is called the Diplomatic Arrival Dedication Week Ceremonies. The picture is kind of worn or distorted. Looks like it got wet. In the background, you can see these obelisk structures. Here's another man with a camera. You can see his lens and the box and the kind of monopod, tripod that he's got. This picture is of the Russian Commissioner Sergei Alexandrovsky, Imperial Commissioner General for Russia. This guy's got some plans, he's got pictures and printouts. This picture is the board of lady managers for the Louisiana Purchase Exposition. They met in St. Louis in December of 1903. They pose in front of the administration building with David Francis, the president of the Louisiana Purchase Exposition Company, and other exposition officials. Too bad for her, she started moving. She's totally blurred out. I told you not to move. Some of the officials on parade. Somebody developed this a little dark, so we can't get much. Just looks like they arrived in a stagecoach. There's a few people standing on a building to take pictures. President Theodore Roosevelt addressed the audience at the dedication day ceremonies for the Louisiana Purchase Exposition. This photo didn't turn out too well. Everyone's looking around and laughing and having fun. The Chief Prince Pulun entering the Tyrolean Alps. I'm actually quite confused by these Alps here. I don't know if this was just like a fake thing that they made, or I really didn't think there was any mountains in St. Louis. They created an artificial mountain? It's huge. They made this mountain. How would you even make a mountain that big with artificial? I mean, it's like in the background, it's foggy. Like this front stuff, I could see how they'd make that. But how do they make the one that's like foggy in the background? Yeah, we're gonna have to investigate that. It's like one big stage background. That's what I was looking at from the other side. Remember, I did the first video, I was like, look at all this wood. And then I was like, this looks like Disney World. And it literally is like a big scaffolding with a huge wall that's like probably painted to look like a mountain. I was wondering how they made it look foggy. I'm going to have to do a video just about that, the fake mountains of the World's Fairs. So I'm back after researching that. It certainly impressed the Chinese prince. They're all just laughing. Members of the Railway Club toured the grounds and met with exposition officials September 12, 1902. They rode on a special train of 4 coal cars decorated with exposition colors. You know, people say in the past that men were so tough today, but these top hats just do not make them look like they're strong. A group of officials in the physical culture department posing outside the physical culture building. These guys look like they would be boxing at the bar. They really look like they're all like rough kind of boxing type folks. Like their ears are all kind of like they barely got him into that suit. Igorot men work on setting up their living quarters in the Philippine exposition while women survey their efforts. 2 officials from the fair visit the site. They brought natives from different countries to come and like build their own way of building. That would be kind of hard because they're using materials from America, and I'm guessing they didn't bring in palm fronds or thatch materials they'd find in their home country. This is the Crown Prince of Siam, which is the historical name for Thailand. It kind of looks like the word Siam, like Siamese. He visited St. Louis in November 1902. Japanese workmen met with officials to plan exhibits in the Palace of Varied Industries. The man standing to the right might be J. Vian Pepin, a St. Louis newspaperman who served as a secretary to the Japan Exhibit Association. The Imperial Vice Commissioner from China, Wang Kai-ka, July 6, 1903. Just looking at the pillars on the sides. Leslie M. Shaw, Secretary of the U.S. Treasury, visited in September 1903. It must have been the look of the day. I mean, no one dressed humble. They all wanted to look like they were rich. The crowd stands in front of the administration building on dedication day, April 30th, 1903, waiting for the appearance of President Theodore Roosevelt. Behind them, the construction in the fairgrounds is underway. The exposition did not officially open until 1904, which would have been at least 8 months later. This is Mrs. Russell holding a ceremonial miniature shovel, breaking ground for the South Dakota Pavilion. Picture turned out kind of blurry, but I really don't understand why they have the flag on the ground. These people with these face nets, it's so creepy. There's like little black dots on the face net. Kind of looks like her face was drawn. Look at this kid's hat. There's the real shovel. It's a normal sized shovel. This picture shows a man named Alberto Santos Dumont arriving in the St. Louis Country Club in a car that they called Electra, the private car of Corwin H. Spencer. This man in the center is Alberto Santos Dumont, a Brazilian aviator. He visited in 1904. He shipped his airship to St. Louis, but because the machine was damaged, he did not compete in the aviation contest. Corwin H. Spencer, the owner of this private car, was the director of exhibits. This is the executive committee of the National Educational Association when they were meeting with the president of the Louisiana Purchase Exposition Company, David R. Francis. This picture has some damage on the right side, but it was taken in April 1902. William H. Taft, civil governor of the Philippines, visited to talk about plans for the Philippine exhibitions. When I look at these people, I just get this kind of evil look to some of them. It may be just the camera, and it may be just that movies depict men with bowler caps and top hats as, you know, the monopoly men, the evil capitalists who will do anything for money. But I still get the sense there's just money being made and everyone wants in on it. It looks like the Wild West, but with different hats. They look like crooks. But look at this guy. I mean, he's posing like he's like the evil villain. Here are some officials standing in a stand watching a parade. It says that former President Grover Cleveland was here amongst these people. It seemed very popular to have these really tight skin, tight gloves. Members of the Southwest Iowa Editorial Association met with officials November 14, 1903, to celebrate the construction of the Iowa State Pavilion. This is the dedication of the Connecticut building site. And here is a group assembled for flag raising at the Iowa Pavilion. It is such a strange, it is such a strange event. There are people who are just cashing in on it. People should see the interesting photos of who these people were, because they mostly show you just pictures of the buildings. And like there's all these people that posed for pictures. It makes sense, but at the same time, like the mystery around it doesn't really make you think it really was what it was. From a book called The Universal Exposition of 1904 by David R. Francis. David R. Francis was the president of the Louisiana Purchase Exposition Company, the company who put together the World's Fair in 1904 in St. Louis. Speaking of this exposition or World's Fair, David R. Francis says that so thoroughly did this exposition represent the world's civilization that if all man's other works were by some unspeakable catastrophe blotted out, the records established at this exposition by the assembled nations would afford the necessary standards for the rebuilding of our entire civilization.